Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, devotees, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to seek the blessings of Radha Madhava, Radha Shyamsundar, Krishna Balaram, Gauranitai, Srila Prabhupada to go through the next Devi, and that is going to be Savitri. So it sometimes gets confusing because Savitri and Saraswati are sort of intermingled there. Sometimes the same person, sometimes different persons. So anyway, we'll try to share something that we found. Savitri is a manifestation of goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning and arts, of wisdom, intellectual knowledge, fine arts, creativity. She is believed to inspire speech and the written word. Savitri is the goddess of dawn, who dispels the darkness of ignorance and lights a lamp of eternal knowledge. In her absence, chaos and confusion prevails. Savitri is the daughter of Suryadev, who rides through the sky each day, granting long life to humans. She is the consort of Brahma. Goddess Gayatri, Savitri, and Saraswati are three goddesses representing the presiding deities of the famous Gayatri mantra chanted thrice a day. Savitri is depicted as follows. She has 5 faces. Her 5 heads symbolize the 5 elements. 3 of the heads of Savitri are Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, Trimurti. She has 10 arms of Savitri, meaning 10 senses of the body. Her 10 arms hold the 10 weapons of Vishnu, signifying the 10 incarnations. Her 10 eyes look in the 8 directions as well as to the earth and sky. She is seen as the mother and culmination of Shri Lakshmi, Shri Parvati, and Shri Saraswati. Brahma's wife is Saraswati. He has 2 other wives, Savitri and Gayatri. All of the 3 wives are Vedic goddesses and are revered as Vedmata, meaning mother of the Vedas. Brahma originally possessed 1 head. From a part of his body, he created a woman, Shatarup, with a face with 100 beauties known as Savitri, Brahmani, Saraswati, Gayatri, and Sandhya. Apparently, Brahma fell in love with his own female creation and could not take his eyes off her extraordinary beauty. Shatarupa felt shy and tried to evade his gaze by moving on all sides. As she moved to the right, to the left, and behind him, a new head sprang out each direction. The Savitri went in the direction of the skies, and a 5th head appeared. So he actually had 5 heads. Thus, to follow her wherever she moved, Brahma created his 5 heads. His 5 heads were his most salient feature. It was Shiva who deprived Brahma of his 5th head. In Shiv Puran, Lord Shiva informed Parvati how Gayatri also became a wife of Brahma. Listen, O Devi, I will tell you how Savitri forsook Brahma, and he consequently espoused Gayatri. The Vedas have declared the greatest advantages which are derived by yajna, by which the gods, devas, are delighted. Thus, I, Shiva, perform sacrifices, and in imitation, sacrifices are performed by devatas and men. For the same purpose, Brahma and his wife Savitri, the immortal and the holy sages, gathered in Pushkar. But when all the preparations had been made with all the due rites and ceremonies for performing yajna, Savitri, detained by some household affairs, was not in attendance. I have not completed my dress, not arranged my person. How therefore can I enter the assembly? Savitri is engaged and will not come, said the priests. Bhavani, Ganga, Swaha, and Indrani had arrived, except for the Trinity consorts. The lords were incensed at the conduct of Savitri, and thus they spoke to Indra. This was, after all, Brahma's yajna. And without a wife, what advantage can be derived from these rites? They summoned Indra and requested him to bring a wife from wherever he can find one for Brahma. Indra proceeded. As he passed hastily along, he saw a milk maiden, young and beautiful, and smiling countenance. Carrying a jar of butter, he seized her and brought her to the yajna assembly. Looking at the milk maid's beauty, Brahma addressed the assembly. O gods and holy sages, if it seems good unto you, I will marry this Gayatri, and she shall be the mother of the Vedas and the cause of purity to the three words. Upon this, Brahma was married to Gayatri, who was led into the bower of the bride, and there, arrayed in silken garments, and she adorned costly ornaments. Just as Brahma was leading his new bride to the yajna, Savitri, accompanied by Vishnu's Lakshmi and Rudra's Uma and other gods, entered the palace of sacrifice. Seeing Brahma clasping hands with a milkmaid and the yajna performance commenced, Savitri was incensed. In a loud voice, she addressed Brahma. "O Brahma, hast thou conceived so sinful an intention to reject me, who am thy wedded wife? Hast thou no sense of shame that thus influenced by love, though committed so reprehensible, thus committing such a reprehensible act? How can I show my face and, deserted by my husband, call myself a wife?" Then Brahma apparently goes on to plead. "The priest informed me that the time for the sacrifice was passing away and that it could not be profitably performed unless my wife was present. And Indra, having produced Gayatri, it was Vishnu and Rudra who gave her in marriage to me. Forgive therefore this one act, and I will never offend thee." On hearing these words and knowing the benefits of the yajna for the three words, Savitri exclaimed, "By the powers which I have obtained by the sacrifice of my tapa, may you, Brahma, never be worshipped in temple or sacred place except for one, and that's Pushkar. And Indra, since you brought this milkmaiden to Brahma, you shall be bound in chains by your enemies in a strange country." So that happened one time. Addressing Vishnu, Savitri said, "Since thou gave her in marriage to Brahma, thou shalt be born and reborn among men, and thus endure the agony of having your wife kidnapped by your enemy." So as Mother Sita. To Rudra, she said, "By my curse shalt thou be deprived of thy manhood." Oh, that's pretty rough. Hence why the worship of Shivling. To Surya and Agni, "May thou be derived of all things clean and unclean. To all the priests, henceforth shall you perform yajna solely for the desire of obtaining usual gifts, and you be satisfied with the food of others and be dissatisfied with your own houses." Having thus spoken, Savitri left the assembly hall. Lakshmi and Indrani accompanied for a short time and returned to the yajna assembly as dutiful consorts. On seeing this, Savitri was incensed again. She addressed Lakshmi, "Since you forsake me, O Lakshmi, may thou never remain stationary." So Lakshmi is always flickering, according to where Narayan is. See, thereafter, through her words against Indrani, when Indra incurred the guilt of Brahmanacide by slaying Toshtri's son, Nashusha shall acquire the kingdom and shall desire thy flesh. Thus she pronounced a collective curse. May you all remain barren. May you never enjoy the pleasure of having children. Vishnu tried to appease Savitri, but she made an angry departure. Thereafter, Gayatri modified the curses. She was very powerful. She promised all kinds of blessings, including final absorption of all worshippers of Brahma. Though Indra was to be bound, his son should release him. Though Vishnu was to lose his wife, he would regain her. Though Rudra be deprived of his manhood, he would be represented either as a male, neither as a male nor a female, universally worshipped as Linga. Though men made gifts to the priests, it would be because they revered the devatas, and finally none of the devis would suffer cause or regret for not having children of their own. Then Vishnu and Lakshmi pursue Savitri. At Brahma's request, they induce her to return. She agrees, and on returning, Brahma asks Savitri what she wished to do, to be done to Gayatri. Savitri was too shy to speak. She'd already taken her anger out. Whereupon, in full assembly, Gayatri threw herself at her feet. Savitri was all merciful and said, a wife ought to obey the wishes and orders of her husband. For that wife who reproaches her husband, who is complaining and quarrelsome, deprives him by her conduct of length of years, and when she dies, most assuredly goes to hell. Considering this, the virtuous wife will do nothing displeasing to her husband. Therefore, let us both be attached to Brahma. So she forgave. So be it, said Gayatri. Thy orders will I always obey and esteem thy friendship precious as my life, O goddess, please protect me. So, in Vedic thoughts, the name Savitri is linked to Surya, sun god. Vedas make reference to Savitri and Surya in the context of illumined and or the illuminous, as also the illumined thinker. By Vedic account, Savitri is the daughter of the goddess of supreme truth, who comes upon to save her from death and bring her into immortality. She is ordained by the self-born Brahma and later born to King Ashwapati. This effulgent daughter was named as Savitri. So this is the 5 faces, the 10 hands, different weapons. So this is a brief summary of Savitri Mata. Any questions or any comments? Okay, we can stop there. Savitri Ma ki jai.